Hello everyone, my name is Mahesh. I'm a cybersecurity professional. I help organizations and cybersecurity professionals strengthening the detection, understanding about the various threats which is current and evolving, and helping the organization protect from those threats, SOC leadership, and helping the cybersecurity professionals thriving in their career. For more information, you can visit my LinkedIn profile. In this video, we are going to see one of the most important aspect of security categorization. One of the challenges that every organization struggle, what we needs to be done, what controls to be implemented for this, and what priority we need when there is a threat, a vulnerability, a business impact analysis, we need to do the categorization. We are going into very deeper in this particular topic. Also, it is mainly based out of a standard called FIPS, Federal Information Processing Standard 199, and we will also see the related standard as well. With that, let's dive into that. And one of the reason why the cybersecurity is so simple, because it is already having a lot of standards in place. We just need to follow the standards, which will help us bring a better security posture for the organization, and it also help us a cybersecurity leader and a professional in our day-to-day life as well. With that, let's go to that screen and I will explain the things in detail. Security categorization with FIPS 199, practical guide for cyber leaders. Let's see about that. There are few things seems to be with the various other standards also we need to understand in this, then only we can have the a continuous this loop of this security categorization, its implementation and the practical guidance. So stay till the end. I am going to give you some practical tips which will help you to implement those things, the things that you learn in this video in your day-to-day security operations. With that, as always, when we start, we need to have some definitions, because that is going to help us understand what is that further explanations on those things. Most of you know about, because most of you are security professionals, you know about these details. Even though just I wanted to give you a quick glance so that you will understand this. Let me increase the size so that you will be able to see the screen. First one is the standards definitions, NIST, FIPS and FISMA. Let's talk about the FISMA. It is Federal Information Security Information Act. FISMA is an act. It is not a standard or a guidelines. It's an act. It is mandatory for the government or the federal government agencies, which details about why or the requirements, the importance, what needs to be implemented for an federal agencies. It is a law, not a framework, and it is mainly the FISMA depending on the risk management, right? Risk is like the probability into the impact, right? We already seen in one of the videos when we talk about the threat intel that risk is a very, very important factor. Every security decision should be based on the risk, not on a compliance angle, not for the best practices. It always depend on the risk, right? The FISMA is FISMA is mainly focusing on the risk. According to that, the organization needs to implement the controls. And why it is required? It is to protect the information systems. What is an information system? Information is the data or the asset or the value that organization need to get it processed. The tools and technologies which used to process the information is called the information systems. And what is required? A continuous monitor of the security posture, also part of the FISMA law, right? It's an act. It was first published in 2002, and I believe that it is in 2014 they have revised that act as well. FISMA requires agencies to use risk-based approach, that we understood, and FIPS is the mandate and NIST is the guidelines or the process how to do that mandate. Okay, then we come to the FIPS. FIPS is the Federal Information Processing Standard, which is the mandatory process. If a NIST document is published and if the NIST document needs to be mandatorily implemented, anyway, of course, most of the NIST documents are mandatory for the federal government and it is very voluntary for the private agencies. almost all of the cybersecurity professional knows that NIST publishes very excellent documentation in the security area, very good documentation. Normally the 800 standard, right, 800 specialist publication standard comes in with a lot of guidelines over the security, and it is implemented even cybersecurity framework, NIST incident response management 861, etc. Then once the FIPS mandate it has to be implemented by the federal agencies. Mandatory standard for US federal systems, and when NIST guidance become mandatory, it is issued as FIPS document. Let us go to the FIPS NIST. Almost everybody knows that it is National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is one of the best guidelines issued by the US government. It is part of the US Department of Commerce. It's a government body and it is mandatory for US federal agencies, and almost all private sector organization has been adopted the NIST standards. And NIST tells you how to do security in a structured way. That is what the FIPS is a standard. NIST documents help us to implement those standards. Okay, when we see the policies, procedures, standards, baseline, guidelines, standard is a mandatory thing. Okay, policy is a mandatory thing. Procedure is part of how to implement that standard. Okay, we can consider NIST as a procedure which is helping us to implement the standard. Even baseline is a mandatory document, and guidelines is a good to do things. Okay, it is a best practices. A quick recap. A CIA Triad: confidentiality, integrity, availability. Every security professionals must know this, because every NIST document, every FISMA, every FIPS document is ultimately based out of the categorization or how the confidentiality, integrity and availability, the security triad or the fundamentals of information security, how this is placed, and accordingly we will assign the security categorization, which we are going to say in the further branches. What is confidentiality? It is just simply protect the organization's data and asset it is to, if any unauthorized access, that means there is a breach of confidentiality. What is integrity? The modification only can be done by the authorized official. If there is any change in that unauthorized modification, it is a breach of integrity. Availability: when the authorized person required to access a system, it should be available. If there is a lack of availability, then it's a breach in the availability side, right? That is simply the CIA Triad. It should be part of our blood as a security professional. Any night, any time, we should be able to tell that. And next comes to the, once we are understand about the CIA Triad, the confidentiality, integrity and availability, it will be mapped with the various information or information systems. Then we need to understand the impact levels. What is the impact? Whether it is a low impact, high impact or medium impact. This is the major focus on the FIPS 199 document, security categorization. When it is low impact, it is called limited adverse effect. Okay, it is limited adverse effect. What is limited adverse effect? Means there is very minimal level of impact to the organization, whether it is a loss of little bit money or financial loss. There is no harm for the humans, or there is no harm for the larger impact to the organization level. It is very limited adverse impact. Maybe a very low priority application is down for some time, or very minimal customer, minimal business impact is there with the low impact category. When it comes to the moderate impact category, it is some serious adverse effect. What is serious adverse effect? It is having a higher financial impact, or there is a potential impact for the business application. Business is down for a long time, right? That is what talking about the medium or the moderate impact level. Then the third one is considered as the high impact level. When it comes to the high impact level, it is of very serious in nature. It can be harm to the people. If the business is entirely shut down, the operation is not able to move on. Say for example, a data center is entirely down, or it is a catastrophic effect. Okay, it's a catastrophic effect which is having lot of impact, lot of regulatory impacts to the organization. That is where it is called high impact to the organization. Okay, they have to pay a lot of penalty in the case of a breach, like the personally identifiable information or protected health information or the critical data or the patented data. If these things are breached, it is having very high impact to the organization. So just understand about CIA Triad and the impact levels, and why this we are talking about this here, and what is in a practical scenario, because when we are assessing a business impact analysis, right, when what needs to be protected in case of a disaster, or what is having this much level of protection, okay, and what level of protection is required. Normally if we assess the category or the security category wrongly, we may end up with putting a lot of dollars instead of a minimal level of security implementation, right? And if we assess a high impact level system as a low or a medium, then if we reduce the security level, it will have another level of bigger impact as well. Okay, that is the reason of BIA, how that particular this FIPS security categorization is going to help us implement it right. And when it comes to the vulnerability management, we will talk it with a little bit example in the later branches. But currently what I wanted to say is, when you assess a vulnerability, right, if the CVS score or CV is high impact, but the system is having a very low impact level, system is not that critical in nature, then that CV may not have a bigger impact. So the patch may have some liberal, we have to take a time to implement the patches. So it is not that critical in nature. Then we have these type of implementation will help us identify what level of priority we need to assign, even in case of an update, even in case of a patching, etc. Then threat assessment and management. When there is a threat, there is an incident, what level of response we need to give, what is critical here, is it a showstopper, is it requires a more focus, more immediate response, or do we need to create a war room, whether we need to have the higher level visibility or leadership visibility to help us prevent that attack or reduce the impact of that attack. It also help when we do the correct categorization of the system. Okay, with that these are some of the common definitions that you need to understand. Then we will go further on the further branches. So BIA, business impact analysis, vulnerability management and threat management. Now we are going to, before we jump into that one of the major important aspect, I wanted to link it with risk management framework, then how to categorize that, then what are the things that we need to implement, the security requirements, baseline controls, and how to implement it. Let us go with a right flow. Okay, what is risk management framework? It is mostly talking about some of the documents of NIST 837, 839 and 830. All these documents are speaking one or the other areas of the risk management. We are talking about this data we have taken from 837. Okay, when we first, organization wide risk management is not only for a particular department or a particular person or a particular section of an organization. It is for the overall risk. A risk is applicable to overall organization. It is talking about broad based risk perspective. Here, when we are talking about, it is organization level, then mission or business process level, and individual or information system level. In simple time, we can talk about strategic, tactical and operational level. The organization level, we will get the strategy. What is the goal of the organization? What is the purpose of the business? The mission of the business? These are the things which will be part of the strategy. Then it comes to the mission or business process. What project needs to be implemented? What are the things? What are the policies, procedures, or standards we need to implement to get the mission or the business objectives? It is our middle level management or the senior level management will be designing. The top level management will be here, top or senior, or the senior level management is called in different way. Here we can talk about the middle level management. Then the individuals who are going to implement and continuously operating the system. So it is strategy, tactic and this operational level. system, and this is where the risk management, risk management is across level. It is not only for a particular individual or a particular department, and the risk will be communicated to top and the bottom. It is overall the risk. Always remember the formula: risk is equal to probability into the impact. Okay, now comes to the risk management framework, or it is normally called as RMF. Let me just put it for your simplification. RMF. There are 3 plus 3, this 6 in the circle, and there is one is here in the center, which is called the prepare step. So totally the risk management framework consists of 7 steps. First one is the preparation. What needs to be prepared? Okay, in a very detailed way, this document 837 talks about it. I will give you a summary and understanding what is exactly each step does. The prepare step is where we are assessing, okay, risk management roles. We have seen the organization level, mission level, or the information, or the information system level. What are the roles for that? Okay, what are the common controls? Common control means the control which is inherited by multiple systems. For example, a firewall, which can be used for the same firewall, which can be used for a demilitarized zone and an other internal zone. Sorry for that. Demilitarized zone and an internal zone. What are the common controls to be implemented? So the basic step, the standard operating procedure, etc., will be handled during the prepare phase. Let me increase the screen size little bit. Then we come to the categorization. Here is where we are talking about the FIPS 199. Okay, how to categorize the system. In the preparation step, we also identify what are the type of information we need to protect. What are the systems or the tools or technologies which is handling that information? That is called information systems. Then we have to categorize. In the prepare though, when we are talking about the information or information system, it is decided by another document called 860. Okay, it's a dictionary 860. Then we talk about the FIPS 199 where the categorization comes. Then we have to select the controls. Okay, what are the security, okay, minimum security controls we need to implement for the categorized systems or information. Then it also requires the minimum security standards we need to do. Then we will implement that. Okay, this is a document which is called 853, NIST 853, which is for both security and privacy. Then how to implement that? Once we implemented the security controls, then we need to assess in the areas of whether the security controls implemented correctly, whether the implemented security control working as intended. Okay, then is there any gap? Then if there is any gap, then we need to create a POEM, project objective and milestone, program objective and plan of action and milestone. Okay, it is also called plan of action and milestone, which is called POEM, which will be created to implement the gaps or the risk during the assessment. Once the assessment is completed, then we will go to the authorization. So there is an authorizing official, AO, simple terms. In simple terms it is called AO, who will check the risk and everything is completed, and is there any risk to be accepted. It will be accepted. Then they will authorize the system. Once the system is authorized, it will be continually monitored. Okay, there will be updates will be happening to the systems. New system will be integrated into the infrastructure. Then that will bring another risk to the organization. So a continuous monitoring is very important for the information system. These are the 7 steps which are part of the NIST Risk Management Framework. Okay, the preparation, categorization, selection, implementation, assessment, authorization, and continuous monitoring. Okay, with that, let me reduce and just simply tell you the mapping of these different steps. Preparation, understand the mission, the risk, environment, and what are the information systems. Then we do the categorization using the NIST 860, understand what are the type of information system. Then we will map it with the security categorization. Then it comes to the selection controls using FIPS 200, it is the minimum security requirement, and NIST 853B, which is the baseline controls which is required to be implemented. Then implementation is using the big document which is 853. There are 20 different security controls is being mentioned. And our controls are effective. It is done through the assessment and authorization, risk acceptance, and it will be approved by the authorizing official. Then it will be continuously monitored. Okay, always remember these 7 steps for the NIST Risk Management Framework. Any cybersecurity area, even if you are in a defense or infrastructure security or security operation, cloud security or identity access management, vulnerability management, always understand you are always doing a risk management format. Okay, everything we can connect with the risk management framework one or the other way. It is happening in our area, and if you learn this particular, understand this particular steps, it will be very easy for you to bring that concept into your day-to-day operations. Okay, then now we will go to individual frameworks or individual standards. Let's see this. Now when we are talking about the first, let us talk about the 860. 860 is, let me just increase the size. Identify information types. In very simple terms, NIST 860 talk about information type, whether it is a human resource data or a management related, administrative related, market related, any other data. What are the information types? When we identify the information type, we will map it with the system. What information system is going to process this information? Then we have to assess what is the confidentiality of that, what is the integrity of that, what is the availability of that, whether it is confidentiality is important, availability is important, or integrity is important, all three are important. Then we will map it with that. Okay, then once that is done, that CAA impact, then we also need to consider here the legal and regulatory things, the privacy level, the mission criticality, and the safety of the systems. Okay, these are all things to be considered while we are doing the identification of an information system. Okay, 860 is talking about identification of the information system, which is mapped with the confidentiality, integrity, and availability information. 860 always augments the FIPS 199. Okay, 860 is used by the architects, governance, risk and compliance team, or the senior officials. Then it will be mapped with the Federal Information Processing Standard 199. Okay, that is what we are going to see the next.